So here's some footage that I thought was quite interesting. This is a 140 grit diamond stone under magnification sharpening a knife. Now this is slowed down so we can see what is happening, so in this case we're only seeing a couple of seconds of sharpening footage here. But we are already apexed, and if I continue to sharpen we would form a slightly larger burr along the apex than what we already have, something I'll show in a future video. One thing to take note of is, and this is something that I wanted to point out, is that even though this is a 140 grit stone, the scratch pattern is not as large as it may seem, since we're only using the very points of the diamonds to do the cutting. This is why for diamond stones in particular, the more pressure you use, the deeper the scratches and the more metal you remove. This isn't necessarily the case with other abrasives, since adding more pressure can sometimes break the bond of the binder holding the abrasive particles together. And this can also happen with plated diamond stones as well, so using a ton of force to push the knife into the stone may not be the best bet. This, however, works in the opposite as well, since using relatively light pressure with plated diamond stones, even if they are very coarse, can leave you with a fairly refined edge, since it's only the very tips of the diamonds that are coming into contact with the apex. So don't be afraid to experiment with different pressures on the stone, especially as you near the end of your sharpening and look to burr minimization. This can also come into play during stropping as well, but I'll save that for a different video. So just to show you that this is in fact correct, here is a close-up of the bevel sharpened with a 140 grit diamond stone using light pressure. And by light pressure, I mean light force pushing through your hand into the knife equals lower pressure between the bevel contacting the surface of the diamonds. And here's the same 140 grit scratch pattern using higher pressure or more force pushing through the bevel onto the stone. Now on the top picture you can see we have very light surface scratches, which are still very large since it is 140 grit stone, but not as near as deep as the canyons carved out by the higher pressure scratch pattern. This is why lightening up the pressure on the stone works to minimize the burr created and help transition into the next grit in your progression, or further refine the apex if you are then moving to the strop.